Welcome to the Caregivers Coaching Corner. I'm Dementia Coach Diane, and this is part 2 on my sleep series because sleep is the most important gift we can give to ourselves. But so often it's hard to know how to get to sleep when we're agitated, we're hypervigilant, and we're exhausted to begin with. In the first video, I shared about why we often don't sleep well, and I don't think it was any mystery to any of you, but hopefully I inspired you to watch this video where I'm going to share some tips of some natural things that have really helped me. Now, when I was first caring for Ben, as I said, and he was waking me up multiple times during the night, I would get back in bed frustrated, my mind would be racing, and I would try to project, how I was going to handle the next day. That's one of the things that I have truly stopped doing. And I do use visualization techniques, and to me, they're really helpful. I'll get in bed and sometimes just close my eyes and imagine a huge eraser, just erasing all of my thoughts. And then more come up, and then I just erase them. And I'll continue that for a few minutes while I start to deep breathe. Now, for me, deep breathing is one of the most underused and yet most powerful techniques that we have available to us at any point in time, but we just don't use it. And for me, I notice that as I'm running around through my day, taking care of Ben, my breathing oftentimes becomes very shallow. And then when I get in bed at night, it's like worse than ever because I start to get afraid that I'm not going to sleep. So I use some very specific breathwork patterns. And one that's very simple but very calming for me is a 4-7-8 pattern. Now, let me point out, when I first get in bed, I don't try to do any patterns at all. I do my visualization, I start to erase my thoughts, and I just notice my breathing. It's just breathing in and breathing out. And I do make a conscious effort to extend my exhale, because when you get all the air out of your system, you make room for the next breath to come in. So that's step 1, is just a longer exhale. And I notice that starts, I can feel like my muscles calming down as I push all that air out of my lungs. So then after a couple of breath cycles, then I'll try the 4-7-8 pattern, which means 4 counts as you breathe in, and then you actually hold for a count of 7, and then you breathe out for a count of 8. Once again, making sure that that exhale is longer than your inhale, because you're creating space for yourself. So that does a lot for me. And, sometimes, I might do it for 3 or 4 rounds, and a lot of times I'm calmer before I even get to the 4th round. Then I do something called tapping, or the emotional freedom technique. And I'm going to share some additional videos on how you can actually use this technique in pretty profound ways. But a very simple way that I use it is to do what I call the butterfly tap. So I'm lying in bed, I'm deep breathing, erasing my thoughts, and then I start to gently tap. And as you'll see, I have my hands crossed. As I said, it's like a butterfly. And I just tap gently on my body. And they've done studies that have shown that tapping, gentle tapping like this, actually reduces cortisol levels. Because the truth is, if you really had to run from a saber-toothed tiger, you would not be intentionally tapping on your body. So those just 3 simple techniques: erasing my thoughts with a big eraser, deep breathing, and gentle tapping set me up for a much better night's sleep. It just calms me down. And if I wake up in the middle of the night, which I do, not as much as I used to, maybe once to use the bathroom, I'll just go through that same routine to settle myself down again. So those are the techniques that I use every night. And they're not difficult to do, but what's easy to do can be easy not to do. So it does take some intention to help to settle your nervous system down. Now, sometimes when I admit I'm really, really upset about something, or, maybe something's going on with Ben and I am in that mode of trying to figure things out, or my thoughts are flipping to the future and I'm anxious about what might be coming down the pike, I'll do what I call a journal dump. I have notebooks that I get at the dollar store, 8.5 by 11 spiral notebooks. And I will just sit there and do a stream of consciousness writing and just get it out of my system. Just get it all on paper. Because I think there's some part of me that goes like, oh my gosh, if I don't think about this now, I'm going to forget, or I'm going to forget to figure it out, which of course isn't true. But just getting it out on paper. And then I find that that generally starts to calm me down as well. Sometimes, honestly, depending on how tired I am, then I'll pause and pray, and I'll ask God what he or she wants to tell me, and I'll start writing a note back to myself. And that's also been a really healing experience for me, to just remember that I'm really not alone in this game. I do believe that our Creator is with us every step of the way. And that act of journaling, of kind of writing it out, giving it to God, and then receiving what he wants me to hear, can really help me to calm down as well. And then, the other thing that I've done relatively frequently is sensory input, something to actually physically change or give my body a different sensory cue to focus on. So I have a diffuser in my room. I use aromatherapy all the time. Lavender is a common one, of course, for calming. I happen to like lemongrass quite a bit, so those are some really calming scents. And so as I'm doing my deep breathing, if I have the aromatherapy going, that can really help. I also have tried a weighted blanket. Now, I've got mixed emotions about that. Sometimes it's okay. Sometimes it's a little bit too heavy for me, but some people really love them. I do have a really yummy blanket that I use, and it's lovely in the winter, especially, of course. Sometimes even in the summer when the air conditioning's on, I use it. So I have made sure that my sleeping space is really comfortable in terms of my sensory experience. And so, lastly, I think of it like just kind of setting the stage, for the best gift to me, which is sleep. So those are some of the very simple techniques that I use. In the next video, I'm going to talk about some of the supplements that I've taken and some things that have really helped me in terms of extending my fuse and helping my nervous system to calm down. And please, I do hope you'll share in the comments techniques that have worked for you, as well as perhaps some supplements. So once again, give it a thumbs up if this is helpful. Share in the comments what's worked for you. And let's see if we can help each other with the most important gift of all, which is a good night's sleep. All right, stay tuned for the next part coming up soon.